Yeah, this is Pops. I'll post this one up the hill as part 2. Yeah, for some reason coming up the hill I lose 30 seconds of space where I could fade out. I got up to the top of Tilbury and pretty much phased out. So that live may or may not work where I was talking about my employment. Right now I'm buzzing up Foster Road. Trailer behind me, everything going well. When I get up on the site here at Wank's Farm, I'll be checking the tire pressures and my trailer tires and taking the old girl up the hill. Ah, shoot, I knew I forgot something. Dang it. Well, I've been having some mild stomach trouble all week. You know, it tends to, you forget things. Well, that's what I did. I forgot something. So anyway, I'll probably turn that thing up on its side, at least make it look like I'm trying something. Because I am, that trailer has to go. I just have to remember the stuff to do it. So if I can get up the hill and do a few things, I may go down home and grab some lunch, visit with Debbie for an hour, and then turn around and come back up. But what I was talking about with the employment before was, you know, you can speak out to a certain point. Yeah, you can get hit here on social media, but 2 things come with that. One of them is, A, if it's a decent employer, they'll listen, they'll understand. And they'll understand when you have spoken up at work. Maybe all you're doing is defining what you said a little more. The other one is an employer may not like what they heard on here and they may fire you, or somebody might dress up a story for you. Yes, that is part of the free speech deal. An employer has that right. But on the other side, if you don't speak up, the atmosphere like I had at Monroe Tractor will continue. The atmosphere that I had at Anderson Equipment will continue. And it did at Anderson. Didn't matter how much I told him, didn't matter what I told him, didn't matter the complaining or who I talked to. And one of them sat there and told me in one company, I think it was Monroe, and said, well, you could have come up the chain and talked to me. And I looked at him and said, Jerry, if I have to chase up the chain to you, all the way out there in Rochester, to take some action on this little bitty branch down here that this company obviously doesn't give a crap about, I said, then I'm wasting my time as well as yours. Besides that, I said, you're going to sit there and listen to some little complaint down here in the Triple Cities area in Kirkwood? Nobody cares about this branch, and that's obvious. You build a nice building and then forgot about the place. Fact is, somebody said they saved themselves somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 by shorting a crane. They had a beautiful 5-ton overhead crane. And they put in 5 tons because it was both construction and ag. If it was ag, probably could have gotten away with 3 tons without much trouble at all. Beautiful overhead lift. They put it across 2 bays. They saved money by not running it directly across the 3rd bay, which was the other open door on that side of the building. They could have covered almost half of the entire building just by extending it another, 20 feet? They saved money. And I mean, it's one of those things where their money-saving technique was so stupid. I mean, belligerently, brain-deadly stupid, that there's no other way to describe it. Someone was on drugs. It was absurd. I don't know how anybody could have come up with that idea. So I said it, and they said, well, no, we were just saving money. And I said, that's not saving money. Another one about that factory was over both walk-in doors, 3 walk-in doors, but 2 in particular, were off the, what would you call it? They were off the eaves end, where the eave truss and such were supposed to be. The ones they didn't put up because they were saving money. There was more than once that both doors were blocked off by anywhere between 6 inches to a foot of ice, and it only took half an inch to an inch to shut both doors down. In fact, one door, they had concrete heave that came up into the door, and nobody decided that maybe we should dig the concrete down a little bit farther. They said, oh no, that'll make a step, and that'll be a safety problem. You got a safety problem now. There's no fire exit there. Duh. Didn't matter. It's the simple things that screw things up. We had so many times that we were fumbling and monkeying around because you needed the crane here, needed the crane here, and over here where the crane wasn't, we needed that. And what we tried to do was here, Sometimes we could turn 2 bays into 3. You'd have 2, sometimes 3 or 4 pieces, because you'd have 3 small equipment here and 1 larger one over here, sometimes 2 over here. So we could get up 4 or 5 pieces of equipment there, but we had to really pack it in. And a crane could reach those pieces fairly well, but half the time we didn't even need it there. So there'd be 4, 5, 6 machines there because we had to pack them in. The other side of the shop is full. And half of that full is waste. I mean, wasted space. They had buckets and pails of oil and drums of things they didn't use, dynamometer tucked in there. They could have had cold storage off the building. I told them, I said, even 20, excuse me, even 20 feet of extended building for cold storage area and a larger walk-in door on the other end or garage door. Push things over there. Well, then it makes a mess, and then it's a mess there. There's no excuse for leaving the shop open. And I said, well, we have a container out there. I said, yeah, container, you can't even take a forklift in. Well, yeah, but, and they kept hearing yabbit. You can make excuses so long before you admit, yeah, we fumbled. They won't admit it. That's why I'm not there. They didn't do anything wrong, stabbing me for 6 months. They didn't do anything wrong, stabbing me in my bonus for 4 out of the 6 months. 5 out of the 6 months, actually. Never got a bonus, and I was supposed to get one after the first 3 months. Never saw one till I was leaving. Then all of a sudden, this huge bonus comes up. I said, see, you got this big bonus. You want me to talk to Jerry? And I said, you screw me for 6 months, and now you want to talk to Jerry? It's not like I haven't said something before. And that's what I'm talking about. If you speak up, you even have a small emotional relationship deal with your employers, with your bosses, with people there, that even when you come to the end, if they want to decide that they're going to take some backbiting, angry move on you, it's a little difficult in the moral mind to stab somebody in the back again that they've been stabbing for 6 months, especially when they know by their own handbook, employee handbook, that you have actionable information against them. And if you're bold enough to speak up without making a huge stink, not blowing your top or anything else, but getting a little firm and sometimes forceful, when you look them square in the eye like I did and said, it's a multi-million-dollar corporation. I'm sharpening drill bits. I'm loaning my drill bits because you don't have any. My taps and die sets are quite good, and they're fairly old at this point, 10 to 15 years old. I'm supplying the shop with taps, dies, drills, drill sharpening, lifting equipment, lifting straps, lifting chains, lifting eyes. Do I need to continue? Drills, just drill motors and such, because you don't have them. So it's gotten to the point of ridiculousness. And I said, and I have hydraulic fittings this place never even thought of. So I end up supplying those as well. And I said, you sit here wondering why I'm angry when on top of that, I haven't gotten my raise for how many months now? 6? I called them out. And they knew one of 2 things. I was either going to fall in line when they gave me what they got, or could, or did. They could have done better. Well, we'll give you this. Is that going to get you to bring your tools back? No. But it'll slow down the exodus. Is that going to stop you from looking? Because I told them flat out, I already got 3 resumes out. I'm looking for another job. I'm done. What do you mean? I said, I'm done. I don't know when I'll get the job. I'm old. It'll take a while. But I said, I'm done. I'm not fighting with you people anymore. I'm out. And they gave me a funny look. They knew it was over. It was just a matter of when, and it's hard enough to find other people. In fact, to find another one guy came in from another outfit, and a few months later says, I made a serious mistake coming here. Yeah, no kidding. And then they went around and hired another guy back, who was part of the reason that people were leaving. One of the reasons he left, that's an interesting story in its own right. There were people there that would actually withhold information and lie to the bosses about how a particular job should be done. And then the bosses will come at you as if you did something wrong. And you have to actually sit there and fight your way through the job with the manual in your hand because someone put a little nit in his ear. I got chewed on that with Cummins Insight information. Diagnostics that I had far ahead of anybody there. In fact, they would have had to gone to some other of the branches in the system to have somebody that knew Insight better than me and its capabilities and what it would do in another machine. And their only excuse was, you don't know Wirtgen. I don't need to know Wirtgen. Wirtgen uses Cummins. The two communicate, but Cummins is separate and will be separate. In fact, in Cummins, the after treatment is a separate system within the Cummins computer system. And you don't even know that. I need licensing for Insight. Well, it's not going to communicate anyway. I said, are you even listening to me? Well, no, because so-and-so told me it wouldn't. He didn't think it would work. He didn't think it would work. I'm telling you it'll work. Well, it doesn't matter. Go out and do what you can. I said, with what? I have a code to read, and Insight's going to have the troubleshooting for it. So if you want me to troubleshoot it, I need Insight to trace the wiring harness because all the information on an engine is in Insight. For the harnesses, the plugs, the wire colors, the wire designations, location of the plugs, and what I'm looking for readings. Well, you're just going to have to go out there and figure it out because Insight isn't going to work. It's in a Wirtgen. And I said, you people wonder why I'm leaving. Got in my truck, went out to the job site, pulled up my Nexic Blue Mini, built by Snap-on, well, Nexic. Plugged it in, got the code, told him what it was for. He said, so what are you going to do? I said, nothing I can do. He said, why? I don't have any Cummins information. What do you mean? Don't you have Insight? Oh, yeah, I have Insight on my computer. I had to get my computer up to somebody else in the shop before they screwed up everything else. And I said, and on top of that, they refused to license Insight anyway. So what good was it? Their thought was the last computer was there, they'd put the licensing back on that one and try to hire their other guy back, who left for similar reasons. Somebody was stabbing him in the back, knitting to the bosses about how a job he thinks should be done, and putting little question marks in before the mechanic, even the technician, goes out to the job site to find out what's wrong. In other words, when I was at Monroe Tractor, I ended up with the exact same problem in a totally different manner than Anderson Equipment. Only in this case, there was nothing I could do about it, but just like the miserable technician on the construction side before, he left for similar reason to what I left for. I should say half of my reason I was leaving for. Somebody was telling somebody else how to do the job before I could get to it. And those are the circumstances you know your management's poor. And they want to order you around. And when you're at my age, no. With the experience I had in that particular realm, no. But you need to tell them that. It's your obligation to tell them when they're failing in the break room, when they're failing at taking care of garbage, when they're failing at shop cleanup. It's your job. You can't hold their feet to the fire necessarily. You don't have that authority. But if you don't speak up, you're nothing more than a worthless pawn standing there waiting for somebody to do something. And in some cases, the deal is the boss isn't paying attention because he's overwhelmed. And it's your job to point it out to him. Not necessarily that he's overwhelmed. I got a feeling he already knows that. But if you're pointing some uncomfortable facts out to him, occasionally those problems get solved. The other day, something interesting happened because the problem kept coming up and up and up, and I kept mentioning it to one of the coworkers. But it didn't come into, he just said, well, I did that because of that. And I said, well, yeah, but because of that, we have to move things so I can get into my work bay. Oh, yeah. He spread out over 75 to 100 feet of the shop. And then things kept getting stuffed into my area. So I kept moving them back out, moving them out, moving them out. It was right on borderline to what I used to do at another place. And I did it several times and got a rental guy furious. I said, park it there one more time. I said, you won't find it anywhere in Endicott. You can't tell me? I said, I will tell you, and I'll beat you to an inch of your life. Because when I come in at 8 o'clock at night and you block up that fuel pump, and I'm supposed to fill my truck up either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I know after a long day I'm going to have to fuel that truck up. I said, and I get home at 9, 10 o'clock at night to shower, clean up, go to bed, wake up today and got to be in here by 7 o'clock again. And then I know I'm going to have to move equipment when I get here. I said, I am not a happy camper when I'm short on sleep and I'm already tired. He started in, you didn't. I said, no, you ever do that again, you'll never find that equipment. He was stacking everything in front of it. I mean, things that didn't need to be fueled, he was stacking. Well, that's the check-in area, not in front of the fuel pump, Bucky. So, that got cured, but only because I spoke up. To someone who thought they were in management because they were white-collar rental agent, you don't tell me, I tell you. I said, oh, I have a boss. You're a jackass. You do that again, I'll clip your wings. Well, then we found out later on, the idiot wasn't supposed to have anything to do with loading and unloading equipment. He was out of his league, out of his zone, and we had to correct him. But people don't do that anymore. They just walk off. There are times that just walk off. It ain't going to do any good. Especially if it's a coworker in the same area you're working. There's some things that just, wow, somebody left a pigsty here. And you clean it up and make it a better place. First thing I did at Empire Tractor was walk in to wash my hands and take a leak, and the sink was a disaster. Well, I hadn't really started any work yet. It was just setting up tools and tool area and cleaning things up. And so I rinsed the sink off. Picked up some paper towels, wiped up a mess on the floor that was hand cleaner, kept dripping. It's still dripping. One of these days I'll make a bucket to put underneath it, but for now, they've let it go on for years. Who am I to clean up everything for them? Nobody can put the toilet paper roll in the rack. Push a button, the arm falls. Pull out the doodad, swap out, put it back in, click. Get potty paper in the rack, that's not going to fall on the floor. I know, they're going to say just drop it on the rack and pull it out, it's fine. Yeah, it is until somebody yanks it and it flops all over the place and you're sitting there bare bottom. That's okay. Yes, those are things that are your job. You can complain till you're green, it doesn't matter. Just do it. But there are other things, and that employee I was talking about that made that 50 to 100 foot mess all across the shop and all over the floor. Then there was another one that they pinched in there, and he was bringing in haying equipment, and the shop is not designed to bring in hay equipment to work on at all. It's a tractor shop. And it's barely that, because they have a door here and a door here on the end. And you push a tractor in and all your bays are 90 degrees to that door. They're parallel to this door, but you have to come in this door and then turn and go to the others. Or come in this door and turn. They did not design this tractor for shop properly at all. Period. End of story. Did a poor job. I know you're going to say a lot of tractor shops are set up like that. Well, maybe. But the dumb part of it is there should be enough doors in a place, especially with a building that long. There shouldn't have been just 2 doors in the place. Call me crazy. They didn't think when they designed it, how to design it, how it should have been designed, and what they should have done to do it. But there it is. A white collar sat down and built a building that they liked. Not a building that was, how shall we say, appropriate, user-friendly, thought out. Even the way they set up the parts department. This huge open showroom that they don't use. Why? Because they don't have any access to it. There's no safe, reasonable way to get to it. They didn't even build a proper overhead door to get in and out. But the idea is great for storage. Bales of twine all over the place in there and other consumables. It's great for that. Well, anyway, those are things that once in a while you just have to go through, shake your head, and say tomorrow's another day. And today, I got to find a way to move some oil. I didn't have time to buy a pump. The fact of the matter is, I might leave the case right there, take Johnny up today with the trailer, and see what I can do up there. And Johnny can pull a few logs out here and there. But then again, I can cut the wood in the woods, so to speak. And I did want to set the buzzsaw up someplace where I could stack the wood, cut it up. So there's a couple of piles of brush up there too that Kevin actually liked the idea of last year. And they let stuff grow up around it. And they're just small things that after a while will break down. They'll be able to drive over it again with a brush hog. But for now, even the weeds are actually cover for the deer. And it almost worked for them last year. But I have a few trees to cut down for Kevin and me. And we'll see how it goes. Mainly I'm killing time now so the ibuprofen takes effect. It gets into my system in half an hour to an hour, but it doesn't start doing much for the joints as far as inflammation for about an hour and a half, 2 hours of the 6 hours. And once you're in it, then the next time you take it after 6 hours or around 6 hours, then it continues it. But to start it in the morning, it needs a head start. And you can feel it disappearing. If I take it at 6, you can feel it disappearing about 11:30. So anyway, that's where we're at today, and that's what I'm hoping to get into. And I'll be dead. I just figured something out. It's an idea I had before, but forgot all about it. There's one hydraulic compartment, which is up front in the torque tube on my 500B case. You got your engine, your clutch, and then behind the clutch, it's inside the torque tube, but the foot clutch is dry, and then your torque tube is your hydraulics and the triple range in this one. And I never use the triple range if I don't have to. And I don't. You know, someday, maybe when I'm working on the engine, I'll probably pull that cover off and see if I can lock out the other 2 speeds. Take that lever right off of there and just stay in the 4 speeds. And you say, why? Be nice to have a creeper. Nice to have it. No, I don't need the overdrive. It's 36-inch wheels. I don't need the overdrive. I might need the creeper side occasionally. So I'll see what I can do there. But basically, I just want direct drive. That's all I want. Let's see what we can do with that. But to fill that front housing up, the transmission, for some reason, always overfills, but oil never gravity feeds back into the front housing again. They both want similar levels, but somehow the hydraulic always ends up in the rear housing without using hydraulics. So, well, it's possible, but the piston itself for the 3-point, that locks solid. There's nothing leaking back in there that I'm aware of. But it could be. So, this is Pops after, what is it now, 23 minutes and 37 seconds. Gonna sign off and back up and unhook the trailer and see what I can do. When I get to the top of the hill, I'll try to download this and or just plain start another live. This is Pops in the woods on Wank's farm. See ya.